Okay, Aubrey, so we are going to be working on three different three-dimensional shapes today. I'm going to break this up into three different videos. The first one we're going to be working on is surface area and volume of a cylinder. So make sure you have page 1 in front of you. And as we go through this, we're going to try and discover why these formulas actually work. So I could just give you the formulas and you can plug in the dimensions and solve for volume and surface area, but it's really important that you understand like where all these numbers come from, because some of it is simplified and a little different. So let's take a look at volume first. So volume is pi r squared times height. So if we take a look at this cylinder right here, we have volume equals pi, the radius is 2 squared times, the radius is 2 squared times the height, which is 7. Okay, so the volume would equal pi, and I have my calculator in front of me, 3.14 times 2 squared, which is 4, times 7 equals 87.92 inches cubed, because it's the volume, right? So let's talk about how this works. So when we talk about like volume of a rectangular prism, or volume of a cube, like this, here's a rectangular prism, I would say this is the length, this is the width, and this is the height, okay? And let me draw the inside of that. So if I said that the length was 3 and the width was 2 and the height was 4, so I would do 3 times 2 times 4, right? And when I think about this part right here, this length times the width, I also call that the base, right? So base equals length times width. And then what I would do to find the entire volume would be base times height, right? So you're finding the base, and if you think of like in class, if we actually had like the cubing material and I built the base 6 units and then I built that up 4 times, it would be 6 taken 4 times, right? So that's kind of what happens with a cylinder too. You're finding the area of the base, which is that circle, right? So you're finding the area of this base. And so how do you find area of a circle? So area of a circle equals pi r squared, right? So by doing this pi times 2 squared, or pi r squared, you're finding the base. This is the base of the cylinder. And then you're just going to multiply it by the height, how many times it goes up, right? So if I find this base, which is pi times 4, that the base right here is 12.56 inches squared. And so I'm going to take that 7 times, which then equals 87.92 inches cubed, okay? So that's how volume works. This is just the base of the circle, pi r squared, the area of the circle, the area of the base times how many times it goes up, okay? So then let's take a look at surface area. So to find surface area, we have 2 times pi times r times height plus 2 times pi times r squared. So surface area, you think about the net of a shape, right? So again, if I have this rectangular prism here, basically what I'm doing is I'm taking this plus this, this plus this, and then the 2 sides, right? So you're taking all of the areas of the net, right, and adding them together. So if I were to take a net of a cylinder, it would be 2 circles and a rectangle, right? So this would be the net. So basically what I need to find is, excuse me, the area of this circle and then multiply it by 2, right? So the area of the circle times 2. Area of the circle times 2, right? And then I would find the area of the rectangle, correct? So if I look back at my equation, what looks familiar here? So here's pi r squared. Isn't that the formula for finding area of a circle? And then that's times 2. So this is pi r squared, right? And if I have that 2 times, that's 2 pi r squared, correct? So then if I think about the area of a rectangle, that's length times width. Well, this length right here gets wrapped around this circle, correct? So like the length of the rectangle here gets wrapped around that circle, and that is the circumference of the circle, right? So the length is actually 2 pi times r. So the length would be 2 times pi times the radius, right? Or pi times diameter. Huckleberry, look at me. Stop. Sorry, he's got a squeaky toy. And then the height right here is equivalent to the width. So to find the area of this rectangle, it's 2 times pi times r, that's the circumference, times the height. 2 times pi times r times height. So this is a hard one to, like, this is the volume, that's not that hard to memorize. And when you think about finding the volume, you know you need the base, which is the area of the circle, times the height. Now this one's a little bit more difficult to memorize. That's why I wanted to walk you through how to actually do it. So you can remember, well, I need to find the area of the rectangle and the area of the 2 circles and add them together. And if you have the radius, you can find the circumference, and then if you have the height, you can find the area of this rectangle. So by plugging those numbers in, I'm gonna do it down here, surface area equals 2 times pi times 2 times 7 plus 2 times pi times 2 squared. Okay. So if I'm gonna just simplify it before I use my calculator. 2 times pi, and I can actually transfer, because of the associative property, I can transfer this 2 over these 2 numbers too. So if I have 2 times 2, that's 4, times 7, that's 28 pi, plus 2 times, and I can transfer this over to this, 2 times 2 squared, that's 4, so 2 times 4 is 8 pi. So if I simplify that even further, I have 28 times pi equals 87.92, well, that looks familiar, plus 8 times pi equals 25.12. So then I add those together. 87.92 equals, my surface area equals 113.04 inches squared. Okay, so I hope that makes sense, how I found these. I might actually send you, with these videos, some YouTube links that kind of explain it even further, or explain it maybe using a different voice. But go ahead and use these formulas and to solve for the rest of these, and make sure you really understand how they work. So that way, if you forget what the formula for these are, you can really think, well, how would I find the area or the volume of this? I need to find the base and multiply by the height. How would I find the surface area? Well, I need to find the area of this one and the area of this one and the area of this one. And if you know the diameter or the radius of the circle and you know the height, you can find the area of the 2 circles, or 1 circle, multiply it by 2, and you can find the area of the rectangle.